wanted to do was just make you proud. And I know that Team Spirit's been, well, a B team, but we really had something good going. And if you just give me a shot to be in top tier, I want to continue working hard for you. Here.
Huh. I don't remember asking for a warm beer.
Well, I didn't want to quit working. You made me.
You don't talk to me that way! Alice, what did you see?
Enough to know I'm getting a raise.
We all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
If you did not get the skit that was just playing there at the beginning, the WOW backstage segment rolling into Family Guy, that is what I think of this whole situation with Ariel Sky and Coach Campanelli. Is like an abuse victim who just keeps apologizing to the abuser. I'm sorry, Coach, for letting my face get in the way of your fists. It was my fault. I'll make the meatloaf better next time. You are listening to the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Green. And yes, I do look at that entire angle as a colossal misfire. And it's like the angle of an abuse victim. I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that it turns itself around somehow. But the more of this I see, I'm like, yeah, it's probably not going to get any better. I'll be happy if it does, but it's probably not going to get any better. As stated, you're listening to the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling Podcast. And we will get to all of this stuff with WOW momentarily. Thank you for tuning in, by the way. I do appreciate that. I'm going to get a couple of things out of the way initially. For all things that are relative to the WPN, you can go to the WPN's site, WPNWrestling.com, for our 24/7, 7-day-a-week stream that exists on the channel. There you can see some wrestling and wrestlers, some that you probably will recognize, some of which have gone on to this very show that we're reviewing. Others, Ring of Honor, WWE, and a couple other places in between. I miss doing that. I miss producing the wrestling stuff. Maybe I'll get back to it one day. That was a random thought. Anyhow, the podcasts all exist there, and any blogs that I write, they all exist in the one place because WPNWrestling.com is the nexus for all things that I do. So you can always go there and check out whatever it is that I may be up to. So, as it is, when I get to the opening portions of the show, we tend to take a quick veer into women's wrestling land, talk about some of the things that was going on. Now, I couldn't do a lot of it last time because the world, like I said the last podcast, the world kind of stopped, or the wrestling world at least stopped, and had to absorb the news of CM Punk and his goings on and AEW. Like anything else that was trying to creep through that was just going to get lost in the noise. And I was like, you know what, let me just not even bother to try to go into some other news story, because there is no other news story that was going to be as big as that was at the time. However, we are in a new week. We have new shows to watch. I have new shows to watch. I have to look at did I say that I was looking at UWW? I am going to look at UWW. I know I said it before. I've watched one of them. Well, I've actually watched more than one. I watched a few of them before, but I've never watched it for the purposes of reviewing it. Except for to say that whoever does the production needs to be shot because he is awful. Awful. I mean, my gosh. I don't know how you can even produce something that bad. I mean, it's like they're on the entirely polar opposite of WoW. Like they have some outstanding matches, but the production is crap. With WoW, you'll get some matches that are all right, good one here and there, but the production is outstanding. Go figure. So I am going to make it a point to look at one of those. I believe it'll be UWW 6 that I'm going to try to watch because I tried to watch 5. I tried to watch UWW 5, and man, that whoever it is that's directing that would not leave the commentating team alone. Just kept flipping back over and over and over. I was like, this is such amateur hour. And I have a hard time saying that, but my goodness, if I produced an entire show with just me, so like if I can do better than that and I'm a solo act, then something's wrong here. Anyhow, moving on. I don't want to start ranting on that because I hadn't finished watching the entirety of it. I want to look at UWW, the most recent version of it, and give a honest opinion about that from start to finish, not the little bit that I saw. So I guess we should go ahead and call this for what it is. We are now going to move into the news, views, and updates. And one of the updates is that Julia has reportedly been signed to the WWE. And some of you may have seen her make her appearance at an NXT show not all that long ago. You know how they would do when they would just have somebody just happen to be sitting there on the front row, and like they introduced several people there, including like Bobby Roode, and I think I'm trying not to say the name that Cornette calls him all, Gargano, Johnny Gargano. I think he was out there, and a couple other people, over the years. It seems like it's the safe way to introduce or get a buzz going for people. You show their face, and for that crowd, they usually tend to just attach onto them. They know who they are right away. So Julia is listed as being signed to WWE, and it is the belief currently, it is the belief right now, this comes from Fightful Select, that she is due to have her debut match at NXT Heatwave on July 7th. So I guess you can keep your eyes out for that. For those who aren't all that familiar with Julia, she's made her name primarily in Stardom, and she's had high praise built around her. I guess that we could use this as a bridge into a kind of adjoining story that the former he was a co-founder of Stardom, Rossi Ogawa, and he was let go, but it appears that he's now starting up a new promotion. Part of that promotion initially was going to be Julia. There's the tie-in. The name of the new promotion that he has is, it goes by Marigold, but the full name is Dreamstar Fighting Marigold. So we got another all-female promotion that is starting up, and apparently they have a startup roster. I will not read the names of that startup roster because I do not wish to butcher anyone's name right now, but you can go and find that. But however, it is questionable whether Julia will be part of that. She is listed as part of it initially. She may still appear at the inaugural event. She is listed as being a part of a tag team match, with the partners not announced just yet, but Julia and Sari. This is supposed to be taking place on the 20th of May at Tokyo Korakuen Hall. So that will be something to see whether how that works out for Julia. Will this be her closing event, which she'll be finishing up. I mean, it's hard to say that she's finishing up with a company that's just being started. So, but man, she may be doing this just for the sake of helping this guy out. I'm pretty sure that they probably have a fair relationship, and bravo to them. So time will tell. So like I said, 2 stories there. Julia is allegedly signed to WWE. She was at NXT Stand and Deliver. She's assumed or reportedly set to debut at NXT, Heatwave. And on the 20th of May, she should be participating in a tag team match. Julia and a mystery partner, and Sari and a also mystery partner. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. So there we go. That should be interesting going forward. I would like to see her pop up in NXT. I think that it'd be fun to have Julia there. And considering the change that's going on in WWE recently, it may work out better for her. Under the guise of Vince McMahon, I would be positive that he would not know what to do or make of this woman. He would just be like, all right, just give her a translator and have her shout out some gibberish or whatever the case may be. But in this new, as they have gone on to promote heavily in this new era, it may be something good for her. And I have got my fingers crossed. I hope the best. Unfortunately, everyone has not had the best in recent weeks, and one of those people is Rhea Ripley. Rhea Ripley has effectively vacated the Women's World Championship due to injury. She has an arm injury. She's listed as having held this championship for 380 days. Clearly, this is the best, most significant championship run that she has had. She's gotten herself over. Like, you can see very, very, very few women in the world who get over to this point. Very few. Her WrestleMania opponent being one of them, Becky Lynch. She got over just like gangbusters. But people have really taken on to Rhea Ripley. She has a fantastic presence about her. I don't know if I can say enough nice things about her and this persona that she became. I mean, the whole mommy thing is something that she just absorbed from Dominic, referring to her as mommy, but now it's the thing that she has everybody refer to her as. So, after a while, I'm pretty sure they'll forget where it even came from. But they'll just refer to her as mommy. But unfortunately, like I said, she's had to vacate the championship. And so on Monday Night Raw, that just passed as of this recording, April 15th was the date. She vacated the championship. Now, in doing that, it seems as if they're also leaving the door open for a little to-do between her and Liv Morgan. The injury is being blamed on Liv Morgan's revenge tour, who then came out, kind of goading and laughing at her and whatnot. Ripley wanted to come out there and fight her, but, of course, security held him back, and she got to do one thing. She got to headbutt one of them, knock him down, but the end result is the end result. She is no longer the champion. Her reign is over with, and there will be I believe a tournament to crown a new women's champion. Well, they say they will crown a new one on next Monday night. So we'll see how that works out as well. Of course, she'll be back, and I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. When she returns, it is a massive babyface turn waiting to happen. They're going to explode when she shows back up on their TV screens. But, if there's one thing you can say about the WWE, right or wrong, better or worse, however you choose to phrase it, they do know how to make themselves some stars when they really want to put the star power behind them. They know how to make stars. They know how to put them in a position to be viewed as stars. They know how to promote, and I mean, just almost everything under the sun. They know how to make them feel important. And I have no doubt that when she shows back up on TV, she's going to be important. She is going to be somebody that people are going to have to look out for. And you know, if Hollywood didn't come calling at that point, I would be shocked. I'll just put it that way. At least for one or two things, because it's almost like a rite of passage at this point. If you're in WWE and you have achieved any level of star power, it's like you got to at least make an appearance in somebody's movie or TV show or whatever the case. Speaking of people who have to leave, she's not vacating anything, but she did have to go. AEW's Ruby Soho announces that she is pregnant. Congratulations to Ruby. Apparently this is legitimate. They said that she announced to her partner Angelo Parker that she was pregnant. This had apparently been, they had been an on-screen couple for a couple of months apparently, but that on-screen couple is also apparently real. So at the Rampage taping, she announced that he was getting that mixed up. Not he, that she is pregnant. So congratulations to Ruby. She is stepping away clearly from active competition. And I can only hope that the time away that she has will be time away that is useful for them to try to figure out what they're going to do with the women's division, because I am not enthralled with AEW's women's division at all. It's like they get somebody to come in there, they have a lot of hype, they get momentum coming into the door, and then they fizzle out. They just do. Like, you give them about 2 or 3 months. After that, they're just another face in the crowd. Means nothing. I'm sure the money means a lot. I'm sure they're all very happy with what they're getting paid. But yeah, as far as their status is concerned, means nothing. How important is it having Deonna Purrazzo on that roster right now? Not very. She started off with some heat, and it just kind of died down. Now, part of that is because Monet has appeared on the scene, but again, how important is it now? You can say that about a couple of people. You can probably say that about Soho. You can say that about Saraya. Toni Storm may be the exception because she's created some other thing for herself. But how many of them get to come in there and they just kind of start off hot and just fade out? Now that I think of it, it's probably not even a women's wrestling thing, more so than that's just AEW. That's just how they function. AEW is also setting the pace for this thing that is taking place between Mercedes Moné and Willow Nightingale. I'm not even sure if they've shown the footage. For those who weren't aware, that was the whole reason that Moné was unable to capture the first New Japan Strong Women's Championship because she had broken her leg, and that not her leg, her ankle. And because of that, she had to call something on the fly, and Willow Nightingale became the inaugural champion. And AEW apparently is deciding to feed into that. I would think or hope that they would at least acquire some footage to show people what they're talking about, but they really haven't done that. Maybe time will tell, or maybe I missed it. If I missed it, let me know. For those of you out there that watch AEW, I do look at it. I just don't see it religiously. That is most of the news. I will take a little sidebar here to say, first off, thank you for those who have gone in and put in the votes for the question that was placed on this YouTube channel. If you happen to be listening to this on YouTube, the question at the time was about WoW and its status in the wrestling sphere. That's probably a nice way to put it. And the overall question there was, is WoW a permanent landing spot for a wrestler's career, or is it just a stop on the way? Now, that's not how I phrased it, but you get what I'm saying. Apparently, about 49 of you voted. 65% says no, it's not a stop on the way. 35% say yes, this is an end destination. You can finish off your career. So take that for what it's worth. I don't know how our numbers reflect, ratings wise. Every one person here represents another 10 or whatever the case may be. But I do appreciate that. I will be putting up more polls as it will come. But I do also appreciate the comments that was placed underneath there. Jogo, the Jock Freak, user, I don't even know how to pronounce this. User -EF9VI1. That's not even a word, but yeah, but him, Jay Foreman, Lindsay Raygun, thank you all for your comments and your statements about how you felt about this whole thing. Another one that I do want to take a moment to clarify, because I don't know if I was able to really reflect what needed to be said in the comment section. So let me get over to this, and then we'll go into the review, because I think this is kind of an important comment. And it was essentially in response to something I said about, well, I think that the ladies in WoW should go to the indies, right? And I probably should have been more clear about what I was saying, because what that was taken as is that, well, they should just go to the indies so they could be better. And this is from, I hope I'm saying your name correct as well, as in Tara. She responded, and it was a very nice response. This wasn't like it was arguing or anything like that. It was a very nice comment that she left under one of the videos, episode 81. I'm just going to read a little snippet out of it. I don't think it's fair to dismiss one of the wrestlers because they didn't come from the independent wrestling scene. It is possible for some of these to take to the sport naturally. So far, I think Goldie Collins has the natural in-ring ability and seems to get the business of being a heel. Now, her booking is awful, and this tag match did not do anything to support that theory. I absolutely agree with that. So yeah, I mean, that was a portion of the comment, and I know where that came from, because oftentimes I will say that. I will say, I wish so-and-so could go on to the indies. I know I say that about Candy Crush. I know I've said that about Americana. I know I've said that about a number of the people that have been there who have just had, more or less a WoW wrestling experience. So I did not disagree with what she posted. I didn't disagree with it. And I don't disagree with it. Everybody that goes into WoW or wrestling in general does not need to come to the independents. I mean, there are some people that are in the wrestling circuit right now, and multiple levels, who are just, for whatever reason, just freakishly good. Just natural. Look at Logan Paul. He didn't come from anybody's independent, but he's good. He's good at what he does. Ronda Rousey. Say what you will about her. I know she's kind of polarizing now because, she says some things about wrestlers and wrestling fans and WWE, but put all that to the side. She was pretty good for someone who had not wrestled before. And you can go, down the line, but there are other people who have done the same thing. Pat McAfee, there's some people out there who just, for whatever reason, just naturally good. And they don't go work in some independent circuit. So, yes, I agree that it is not a requirement. And I don't want to dismiss them because they did not come from the independent wrestling circuit. Now, on the other side of that, here's what I meant, and I probably should have been more clear when I said it initially. I think being on the independents, not every independent, because some independent promotions out here suck, and they should not ever step foot in them. So let me be clear about that. But let's just assume that we're talking about them having access to the promotions that are well-to-do, the promotions that are run well, the promotions that have a promoter or a booker who have a good head on their shoulders, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In those environments, I think that the people like an Americana, like a Goldie Collins, like a Candy Crush, I think they stand to gain something in that regard. I think that being on independence under those circumstances will work wonders for them, because that's where a lot of the psychology is taught. From everything that I get from the research of WoW, the people that I've talked to of WoW, the fans that have been at WoW, Lord Jack Long included in that. From everything that I get about WoW, it comes across to me as a very, very sanitized situation. We can practice the match, we can prepare the match, we can get the match prepped and ready to go, and you got a couple of days to get this thing right, or whatever the case may be. And that's fine. The drawback to that, and the reason that I stand on the independent thing, not that they will be terrible without it, but it will help them get some level of the thought process of this down. I mean, you can see there are matches where they will just do things, and it's like, why is she just standing there like this? And I don't want to pick on anybody, but one of the most egregious problems, or the most egregious scenarios that took place in, was Miami Sweet Heat versus the Tonga Twins, when both of the twins are tossing, I think it was Lindsay, out of the ring, and then Laura had to just stand there and watch in shock and awe like she didn't know what to do. And they came out of the independents, and they didn't, nothing happened there. They didn't, like, hey, punch me in the face, knock me down, or, something like that. None of those things happened. She just stood there waiting for, her next spot. And yes, would that happen sometimes? Sure. But I think it would be less of a problem with most of them if they got the chance to do this more than 3 to 4 times out of the year. And that's where I think the independents come in. Not all independents, I will repeat that, not all, some. The good ones. I know I've said this. If I were there, I would endorse some of them going to independent promotions that are given a thumbs up, so to speak, by some of their colleagues. The ones that are out there that can tell you, oh yeah, so-and-so's a good guy, you should work for him. Or you should go down there because he can teach you a lot. If they can do it. They may not have the ability to do it. They may not have the means or the money. I don't know. But I cannot imagine that them doing this would hurt at all. Being out there and getting the opportunity to work in front of a different crowd, because that's another thing. The crowd that WoW has, I don't feel teaches them how to react to a crowd in a different audience, in a different environment. I don't think it gives them that. So it is not a full-on dismissal of those who haven't gone in there. For me to do that, I would be dismissing, Keita Rush, who I really like, Stephy Slayz, who's grown on me because I understand what her position is. Her position is she's just there to do the job. I don't think she has any aspirations of being a champion. I don't think she has any aspirations of being in the main event or whatever the case may be. I think she's just there to come in, do the job, and go home, and be able to say that I was on TV. I fully believe that that's where it starts and stops. So for me to say, well, if they didn't have any independence, I would be dismissing them as well, and I don't want to do that. I will just reiterate that some of them, Goldie Collins included, could probably use the independence, and not for nothing. And I will never be able to look from the outside in and judge someone's desire towards the business. But that said, I would tend to lean in favor of, they probably don't have a lot of drive to be in the wrestling business. They being the ones who just saw the ad and just signed up and went through the tryouts and whatnot. Now to give credit where it's due, they got to be tough to go through the tryouts because you got to be willing to take the bumps. You got to be willing to do it. But I don't think that this is something that they are looking to do or want to do long term. Certainly not to hey, I'm trying to get to the WWE, or I want to be at WrestleMania, or I want to be at All In, or I want to be at Bound for Glory or Final Battle or whatever the tent pole of their life happens to be in the wrestling business. I don't think that that's something that crosses their mind. I would prefer someone who had the drive to be there. And again, I don't know. I cannot look and I cannot read their mind and talk about the drive. But if I was a betting man, I would probably assume that the drive to be a pro wrestler, the drive to be, the best in their given field, I want to be the champion here, is probably not something that is high on the list. And I feel like I just needed to, get into that, say that for a moment before we went any further. And now that we've covered that, I think that it is about time to get into the review of WOW. I think that's all the news. Let me make sure that I covered everything here. I believe so. So we can get off into the bulk of what this show is all about. And it is about WOW, Women of Wrestling, and all of its fine angles and storylines and whatever else you want to put into it. Some of that is a little facetious, but we'll get there. So anyway, this is a review of seasonal episode 231. The chronological number 83, the air date April 13th. Some of y'all is going to be for the 14th if you watched it on a Sunday. The title, Nothing is as It Appears. I can start off by telling you this much. This was a very up and down show for me. Not that it was all bad, but it wasn't all good either. And most of the bad came out of angles, storylines, inconsistency, or things that didn't make sense to me. The good, largely the matches. So we can go off into all of that. The show started with the VIP Abilene Maverick coming out and joining commentary. And, this is a ongoing theme for WOW and its participants. If there's a heel involved, they have to come out and sit at the commentating booth. WOW seems to have these little audio inserts with Dave McClain narrating things, and this is one of them. I know I've said it earlier in previous episodes, like it sounds like the audio is audibly different. Like just for a second, he'll be talking normal, and then they'll just go to, and wow, we'll check into this footage for a second here, Nigel, and then they'll just start narrating whatever he's narrating. So it seems like there was an audio insert. I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, with having an insert. I'm just saying it sounds like that was there. And they go to the video package showing the history between the Beast and Abilene Maverick. So they're re-explaining this. They're bringing people up to speed. I thought this was fine and necessary because somebody's watching this for the first time and doesn't understand what's going on. So the recap and the narration and all that stuff is a thumbs up for me. Makes sense. It should be there. It should explain what Abilene Maverick is doing, and it did. It should explain the issues between the Beast and Abilene Maverick, and it did. Of course, it's going to focus on Abilene Maverick being this cheating, conniving heel, but it did that job as well. It also, not the package, but just Abilene being there, kind of sets the tone for the self-appointment of her own opponent. So she's sitting there and she's going to call the commentary, but she's also got an opponent that she has in mind that she's like, well, you'll find out. I was like, okay, isn't David the guy that pretty much signs all the paperwork and hires everybody and stuff like that? It's like, how would he not know? But, WOW's rules kind of change from time to time. This is another one of those reasons, like, I don't think that David McLane needs to be sitting out there like that. Because there's really no reason for him not to have any information on this. It's just not. He's sitting right there ringside. And he has executive producer privilege or matchmaking privilege. He's clearly shown that signed paperwork and contracts mean nothing to him when he doesn't want it to. He's already shown this. So I don't think that him being there helps facilitate this. This would be an easier thing to pass off if it was just Abilene Maverick talking to two commentators, not Abilene Maverick talking to a commentator and a guy who runs this place. It just doesn't work well for me. Everything else there was fine. That just didn't work well. So this happens, and then the next segment that we got coming up is the match itself, and that is going to be the Beast taking on Goldie Collins, which is I am hesitant to say a pointless match because they structured the match as such to where it didn't really matter who won or who lost. But the idea that they would sell this as like, and tune in next week, fans, Goldie Collins takes on the Beast. Like, why would I care about that? Goldie Collins has not won once. I mean, you are still selling a match. And I would think that I would want to tune into a match that would have some sort of intrigue or some sort of interest or something like that. It's not sold. And then they started this tag team last week and their partner's nowhere to be found. It's just like right back into a singles. So what was this about? When they do things like that, that's when I'm like, I don't know where we're going with this. What does this mean? Is the tag team just a one-off? Is it done? What's happening there? So Goldie Collins comes out, and even when she comes out, she is so hard to take seriously. She looks good. I'll give her that. She looks good. I forget the character that's on The Boys that she looks like, but it's not they don't have a Titantron. What's the thing I'm looking at? The video that they use to introduce the characters or the wrestlers, the participants, whatever. When they have her looking longingly at the dog in the video. I was like, oh, come on, man. Really? Can we not do anything seriously here? Can we not do anything seriously? And, especially in this environment, is Goldie Collins against the Beast. She doesn't need to be presented, and I'm sure no one thought about it. Like, I'm sure no one's like, well, she's presented like a comedy character. But that video alone, the dog training video where she's, like I said, she's staring longingly into the eyes of her mutt. Like, why is this here? It shouldn't be there. If you want me to take her seriously, then let's put her in a position that she can be taken seriously. It doesn't seem to be the case where, people can look at her and be like, oh, yeah, I think that she has a chance against the Beast. She doesn't look like she stands a chance at all, especially when she does stuff like that. And the Beast is presented so seriously. The Beast is presented with absolute, like, a presence of, I'm going to kill or crush you. And I will give them credit for that. They always present her with the utmost seriousness. Starlight, that's the character's name. That's what she looks like. Starlight from The Boys. Same color scheme. It just looks like an off-brand version of the outfit. If you put some special effects on top of her, she probably looked exactly the part. So anyway, she comes out, and the reason I said that it doesn't bother me so badly that Goldie Collins is in this match where she shouldn't be, because she shouldn't, is because the match was about the Beast and Abilene Maverick, despite the fact that Abilene Maverick wasn't in it. So the Beast comes out, even though Goldie Collins is already in there. She's not giving her any time of day. She walks right over to the commentating booth, and she being the Beast, start having words with Abilene Maverick, which opens the door for Goldie Collins, which was good. Now, I don't know if they told her to do that. I don't know if she was prepared, like, hey, you go over there, and then I'll come out and attack you. But I would hope that this was, just her as a instinctual thing. But she attacked, got an early advantage, and then the Beast took over. One shoulder block later, and she was right back in control. This is, for all intents and purposes, a gigantic squash match, which is what it needed to be. So again, I didn't have a problem with that. Goldie Collins should not be competitive with her at all. And she was not competitive, save for the moments where she had to cheat to try to obtain some sort of advantage. I didn't necessarily care for her going outside jawing with the fans, but again, she's out there trying to blow some time and get to the next spot. Her being able to slip away from the Beast when being attempted to be rammed into the pole, I thought that was, a nice touch. For everything that they did in the match, it kept the Beast basically pretty strong. And that's all you can really ask here. They kept the Beast pretty strong, where she, Goldie Collins had to do these little things to try to slow her down and or stop her. Now, one thing I probably would have added to it is that if I wanted to help the aura of the Beast, I would probably have a little bit more determination to take the win however you can get it out of Goldie Collins. If you get on the outside, you go out there and you tell the referee, start counting. Don't waste time, smiling around and standing and, waiting for her to get back in the ring. Tell that referee to count. That would probably be the only other thing that I would add to it, because I think it would have added to, I just want to get the win. And I think it would have served in the purpose of Abilene Maverick as well, because if she could sit there on commentary and like, oh, yeah, she can't even beat Goldie Collins, how she's going to beat me, that type of thing. But the match ended with the Beast taking control. Goldie Collins was in control for a little while. She got cut off, got hit with a short arm clothesline, and past that point, it was pretty much it. There was a suplex, and then I think there was a second suplex. And the Beast at some point sets her up for not a Beast Bomb. Well, she tried to do a Beast Bomb, and there was a nice counter by Collins. She clipped the legs, went for a roll-up. That didn't happen. But then she got caught with a spear. And we know the spear is the big move by the Beast. And when she hit her with this one, Collins stays down. And that sets her up for the Beast Bomb. Picks her up. Beast Bomb. 1, 2, 3. Match is over with. End of story. So there was not a lot of stuff that I could say that was wrong here. Like I said, I didn't necessarily believe that Goldie Collins should be competitive with the Beast. But the points that she was competitive here, I think were passable for how it was done. So, and it may be, I know that I have given Ms. Goldie Collins a hard time, as I did, several weeks ago, and to continue to do now, and probably will do in the future. But as of right now, I'm going to say good job, Ms. Goldie Collins. Good job, Beast. So, bravo, ladies. The next segment goes into another match. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I got to get this note in because I said earlier, in theory, David McClain should know about the title match and title opponents. Now, what they did here to try to not pass that off, but explain it, is say that, well, Abilene Maverick went to the WWA, which is the World Women's Association, which basically acts as their board of directors for who gets what. So I don't have a problem with them having a WWA. I just wish there was a consistency about using them. Sometimes it's David McClain, sometimes it's them. I'm not even sure if we've even heard the name WWA since they came back. I know they've used them before. They used them in the past. They've had Sophia Lopez go appeal to the board. But I don't think that has been something that was even remotely brought up since this show has been rebooted and brought back in 2023. So, whereas the concept of the WWA as a board of directors for the rules and regulations of WoW and who gets a title shot and who doesn't, whereas that on its own as a concept works perfectly fine. I just wish that it was a consistent thing rather than breaking it out when it's convenient and you have to explain how someone got around David McClain. Okay, now that we've addressed that, we can move on. Back to where I was going. The next segment, the segment that I was starting to work on, and then I went back. Genesis versus Stephy Slayz. Fan favorite Stephy Slayz. The commentators basically told you what this match was about in the first couple of seconds. That being, we don't see Genesis out here with her teammates. Where's the rest of Exile? Maybe she's doing this on her own, David. So they more or less beat her to the promo that she was about to do after the match was done. The match isn't important. I wish I could say that it was. It's not. It's not an important match. It's just there to give Genesis a match, someone to beat, and then she can take the time afterwards to speak her mind, which is pretty much what she did. So there's really no point in going into the blow-by-blow or the play-by-play of what she did with this. It was nice enough. Stephy Slayz did come out with a updated outfit. Good on her. But the end result was the same. It was Stephy Slayz doing the job. She was looking up at the lights, and Genesis carries on. If anything, I'm expecting her being Genesis to get some sort of upgrade to her look. Just as a side note to Slayz, she's been there long enough, on and off. Now, granted, WoW has not been some sort of consistent program non-stop since its inception. They've had massive gaps in between, times that they were down, the hiatus periods, and so on and so forth. But Slayz has been there for, a fairly long time. Not to have had a significant program. Like, I don't remember anything that she's done that's been of any great significance beyond that she had a feud with Abilene Maverick when Maverick was the governor's daughter. Now, that's pretty much it. And she was playing the naive, innocent, I don't understand, Abilene is still a nice girl, and there was major gaps in logic there too. But, all of that to say is that I would have liked to have seen Slayz win every once in a while. To where the match or a match like this might have felt a little bit more competitive, even though the match in and of itself was competitive. I just never had a doubt who was going to win it. Now, there is a spot in the match that I'm really curious about. And I wish I knew somebody that could tell me whether this was a response of Slayz or not. There was a point in the match where Slayz shoots Genesis off into the ropes. Then there's a reversal. Genesis does a leapfrog, and Slayz basically has to drop down to her knees to get underneath it, which is not normal. Normally they just kind of duck down like you duck in a clothesline and go underneath that. But she got down to her knees and more or less slid through her being Genesis's legs. I'm just curious whether that was a on the fly thing that Stephy's like, I better get down before I get crushed or something. So that just a random observation. But it went very smooth. I like, that's one thing I can say. The match, or at least the emotions that took place right there, went very smooth. And there's not a lot that I could point at and be like, oh, yeah, well, they screwed up here and they did this and they did that. Which I find that coworkers of mine are doing that all the time now. I was like, God, I can't believe them with that. I keep trying to tell them, look, I'm not looking for them to be screwing up in the matches. I'm looking for other things. I know what I'm looking for. But it's like, because I criticize it, they feel the need to try to criticize it now, criticizing things that they don't know. They're just like, oh, yeah, she didn't know what she was doing. It's not like that in WWE. It's always referred to WWE. Everything is related to WWE. Everything. Anything that has to do with wrestling is WWE. So, but anyway, no, Genesis and Slayz, I don't think anybody's going to mistake them for being the single most polished wrestlers in the world, but they're not the worst. And they're not even bad here. I mean, they did a fine job. So the commentary within the workroom, I should say, was a bit unwarranted and unnecessary, and I would say that for a lot of people that might look at Slayz or this match in general and start trying to pick it apart. It is a basic match. It's nothing overly complicated, and I thought they did a fine job. Slayz, I feel, should be, if anybody should have been their guardian of the gates, it should have been her. She should have like a tier of people that she was able to beat on a regular basis, but then you have that one or two people that get past her. You know what I mean? I mean, maybe the roster isn't heavy enough for that to be accomplished, but it'd have been nice because she doesn't need to have a championship. I don't think that she's ever going to be in a position to get a championship, get a tag title, or whatever the case may be. And I certainly don't see her as the wild champion, but it'd have been nice if she had a few wins over a couple of people. I would even go so far to say is bringing in some people from the outside just to do the job to Steffi. Like, just to have her have a match where she can be presented on TV as winning and competent. So when she does come across a match such as this, when she's taken on the Genesis, there's a little bit more there. That's all. But as stated, Genesis wins the match. Surprisingly enough, she had to cheat to do it. I would have thought that she would have just beat Steffi clean, but she didn't. She got her into the corner. She scooped the legs, you know, did a double leg pick. I was going to say rolled up, but it's not really a roll up. She pressed down for the pin and got her feet on the ropes. And with that, she scored the win. So even though she got the win, it was a win with a little bit of a gripe from Steffi. And that's fine. I like that. I like that you can at least give the babyface an out. And some of the baby faces here need that. They need to have an out. They need to have a, hey, look, I only lost because of this, that, and the other. I'm just surprised that they kind of, I don't want to say wasted it on that. They didn't waste it, but I'm surprised that it was utilized for Stephy Slayz and not one of their larger angles. That's probably the best way to phrase it. After the match, Genesis cuts a promo and reinforces that she might be stepping out on her own. That's the ultimate purpose of the promos. Like she's more or less, I can't say debating, but getting ready to step out into singles. And that was that. I mean, like I said, the match in and of itself, although entertaining, wasn't all that important. What was important was what the commentator said at the beginning, and then what Genesis said at the end was reinforcing that. Commentators probably should have not said anything at all about that, but you know, that's neither here nor there. The next segment is where we get into where the ridiculousness of this episode starts. It's the All-American Girls locker room. Now, keep in mind, earlier in the show, we talked about Abilene Maverick showing the world who she's picked as an opponent. I have criticized the set designer on this program before. And I'm definitely going to criticize them now. I know why they did what they did. But this just, it came off so bad to me. And I didn't want to write it down. I didn't want to say anything about it. But the second that someone else in the room made an arbitrary comment about what happened to that kid, is he dead? That's when I knew. I was like, okay, I'm not wrong here. Without me having to say anything, without me having to mention it, without me hinting at it, somebody in the room said exactly what I was feeling. Like, the way that this is shot, his frame picture facing the camera in an unnatural way, because no one sits with a picture like that while they're talking about him. And in front of this picture is this colorful bundle of whatever, looks like a bouquet. It looked like a memorial. And I'm not wishing anything ill on anybody's kid, but it looked like a memorial. It's like the first shot I see is this child, you know, smiling in his framed picture with the shirt and the tie on in front of this colorful garment. It's like, what happened to him? So, like, that was the first thing that was out of his mind. What, is he dead? Yeah, this was just shot bad. It's like, did no one not look at this and say, hey, maybe we could change this around just a little bit? First off, why is that even happening? This is one of the most annoying things that they've done with Americana. And I don't think that she either wants to rock the boat and say anything about it, or she doesn't see a problem with it. But you don't want to be, and let me speak directly to you, Americana, Samantha Sage. I hope that you hear this. I really do. You seem to be a sweet young lady. I don't have a problem with you, but please tell them to knock off making you the wrestling mom. You need something else besides being the wrestling mom. There has to be another layer to you other than, hey, look at my child Levi. It's going to get to the point where people are going to get sick and tired of that. Wrestling fans are fickle. And they don't need to have someone who does this all the time. I mean, just imagine at whatever job that you've had. I'm still talking to Americana. Just imagine whatever job that you had, that you've gone in, and then this person, every time you see them, is constantly talking about the love of their life, their husband, or whatever the case would be. I mean, after that might be entertaining for a week or two, maybe a month. But if that's all you got out of this person, after a while, you'd be like, can you change the goddamn tune already, please? Can you talk about something else? But I'm just waiting on the day when it's like, oh, okay, you know, I love talking about Levi, but I just finished talking about him, so let me not talk about Levi anymore. Let's talk about you. What do you think of Levi? I'm just waiting on the day when they do something stupid like that. Please, 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 I'm begging you, knock this crap off. I'm sure he's a lovely kid. I'm sure he's as sweet as the day is long. But you do not have to make him a focal point for Americana every time she's on the screen. It's getting to the point where I'm like, I feel Jesse Jones is completely justified. I can only imagine. I mean, just picture it. They're driving to the Wow show or whatever the case may be, and she's got to sit there and listen to her talk about Levi. Or Levi's in the back seat. Or they come to visit in Kentucky and Levi's there. And Levi's got to be taught how to fish. And Levi's coming to the tapings. And we got a framed photo of Levi in your locker. Like, after a while, you would think that you would just be like, look, can we move on, please? Just stop. So anyway, by the way, this segment is terrible. So anyway, it starts off looking like a memorial. They can't seem to get past this or leave it alone. And then Maverick just walks in, like, you know, and neither one of them have any, like, hey, what are you doing here? You know, that kind of thing. It was more like Abilene, why are you here? It wasn't like, hey, we don't trust or like you, so what are you doing here? It was almost like high school. You know, the mean girl walks in and then you're like, it's her. Like, we don't like her, but not enough to be annoyed or mad or kick you out. So Santana Garrett walks over to Abilene Maverick, who has her envelope in her hand. And, of course, it's sealed with the WOW seal of approval or whatever sticker they used. I mean, that seems, pretty, I want to say convenient. But anyway, she gives the envelope, like I said, with this nice purple sticker on it. And I don't even know why that sticker was there, because it's not even like it was on the right side of the envelope. It's just like, I guess we just have to identify this as being a WOW property. So she gives this to him and she walks out. And before it's open, Americana's like, do you think it's a title shot? It's like, oh, seriously? That's the first guess that comes out of your mouth, is that it's a title shot? Why would you guess that? I mean, it's not wrong, but why would you guess that? Why would that be the absolute first thing that you think of? That, do you think it's a title shot? It's like blowing the scene. I mean, there's such a thing as foreshadowing, but then there's this thing as a spoiler. I mean, come on. This is a spoiler. So Santana Garrett looks at the paper and she's like, yeah, it's a title shot. Dramatic pause, but it's got your name on it. So the surprise there is that Maverick is gifted Americana a title shot that evening. So, and then like the commentators, and whatnot, were assuming that this was a title match for Santana Garrett. I don't know why they would just assume that it was a title match for Santana Garrett, because they talked about it a couple of times later on. But the idea of this being Abilene Maverick is going to find her own opponent. And that opponent is going to be somebody that I can easily beat. That's the overall idea of this. Or at least that's how it's portrayed. Now, whether they did it or not effectively is a different issue. This is a recycling of Tessa Blanchard's title run. Substitute Abilene Maverick for Tessa Blanchard, and that's what you got. If you don't know what I'm talking about, in the seasons leading into the unaired season of Access TV, Tessa Blanchard did the same thing. I don't want to get in there. I mean, without saying I don't want to get in there with the Beast, she didn't want to get in there with the Beast. So she would just assign title matches to other people. The problem that I had with that is that she kept assigning it to people who were legitimate competitors and legitimately could win. It's not like they told the story of, well, here's this woman who's trying to do everything in her power to keep the championship and avoid getting there with the Beast by picking the lowliest, sorriest person that they can find. Tessa Blanchard was taking on other people who deserved a title shot. So it didn't make a lot of sense to me in that regard. Here, you could argue the point that, yeah, okay, Americana's a rookie and she gets a title shot and she probably doesn't deserve a title shot. So therefore, it's a good choice by Abilene Maverick. So I don't argue that. I just wish it was laid out a little bit more clearly, because I don't think they did a good job in laying this out as clearly as it could be. That Abilene Maverick chose this woman because she is not perceived in her caliber. She's not perceived as being on the same level as her. She's not perceived as being worthy of a title match. It's the underdog story. It's Rocky. Apollo Creed, I don't have an opponent, I'll make myself one. And we don't have to have a top contender. We'll just give it to somebody who, on Independence Day, it'll be the American dream. Somebody get this land opportunity. I'm going to give this man an opportunity. That's what this is. This is Rocky. It wasn't done as well, but it's Rocky. And that's probably what they should have did. They should have spent the hour building up the fact that Americana has the shot of a lifetime, whether she's prepared for it or not, that she's an underdog, has never had this chance, and now she's got it, so I can't blow it. I got to put everything I got into this. They didn't quite get there. They did all right, I guess, but they didn't quite get there. So that is the overall story here, is that Americana is being gifted a championship match just because she's gifted a championship match. Go figure. Years ago, and I know it had nothing to do with WCW. It was just a Pro Wrestling Illustrated story of WCW. When Elegante got to WCW and Ric Flair was the champion, they wrote an article basically saying that Flair was giving Elegante just title shots. Nothing but title shots. The point being is that he wanted to give within the story, within the universe of the story, he wanted to give all these championship matches to Elegante while he was a rookie and he couldn't handle it. He would get too emotional. He'd get himself disqualified. He might win the match, but he wouldn't win the belt, that type of thing. Flair wanted to give him all these, title shots initially because once I get past these and then they try to force them on me, I'll say, well, wait a minute. I already gave him title shots. He's had plenty of them. He can go to the back of the line. And now, of course, that wasn't an angle that they put on TV, but the angle in the magazine, I was like, that's a pretty good angle. And it works. But that's not the case here because, Americana cannot be viewed as such, cannot be viewed as secondary. The next match, Chantilly Chella versus Chainsaw with Angelica Dante. This is another David and Goliath type match, and it was fine. A couple of missteps here and there. Most notably, looks like Chella was trying to charge in and jump up, perhaps for a crossbody, but Chainsaw wasn't prepared for it or whatever she's doing, so she just kind of, I can't say fully dropped her, but she didn't catch her when Chella tried to jump onto her. And then she had to kind of react and pull her up. The one saving grace I say that Chainsaw has that most people do not is that her persona of Chainsaw allows her to be as reckless. Let me not say reckless. Let's rephrase that. It allows her to be as green and not as polished as she could possibly be. She doesn't have to be that because she's a monster. And she can deliver the goods, bell to bell, even if it is sloppy. She can still deliver. Anyhow, on with the match, which was a bit of a surprise for me. This was kind of that moment that I was talking about with Stephy Slayz a little earlier. Like every once in a while, I want to see the person who takes the beating or loses constantly actually score one. Now, I wasn't expecting in this environment because by and large, with the exception of how many people have beaten Chainsaw, I want to say maybe 4 or 5. Crush beat her when she was a babyface, and it took everything she had to be able to accomplish it. Tiki pinned her when the twins helped her. So that was, you could put that off on, well, it was unfair numbers. The Beast beat her and Holiday beat her. And I might be forgetting somebody, but I think that's it. So that's about 4 people. Possibly 5, possibly a 5th that I can't remember. But she had been largely protected, except for, again, in the case of somebody like the Beast, who has more or less just run through everybody. So I wasn't expecting a Chantilly Chella match to do anything other than be, unfortunately, a Chantilly Chella match. She does a fantastic job of making other people look good. I mean, she just does. Raylynn, Chantilly Chella, whatever you want to call her, she is good at what she does. And again, there were a couple of misfires, of misstep in here in the match. There was a really smooth move that she did where Chainsaw looked like she was going to go for a choke slam on Chella, and as soon as she got up, she just turned it. She, being Chella, turned it into a drop kick. I was like, that was really nice. But it looks like they were going to do some more choke slam tease spots or something along those lines. Chella comes back off of the ropes and she was trying to jump at her and like I said, the wires must have been crossed. The communication must have been down because Chainsaw pretty much let her drop. But being bigger and stronger, she just kind of caught her on the way down and just went on about her business. And you cannot fault that because the things happen and sometimes you got to adjust. And Chainsaw adjusted, so give her credit where it's due. It ain't necessarily always about the mistake. It's about the recovery from the mistake that you can have. And she recovered from that, and I absolutely want to give her credit for that. I also love what happened at the end of this match, and I'll get there. So we've got a big David and Goliath story happening here, or I don't know. It was Diana and Goliath. I don't know. I don't know what the female version of Goliath would be. But within the course of the match is all about Chella trying to get away, trying to make sure that she has distance between her. I said it before. Who was I talking about? Ozzy and Del Rey last week. It was a case of the smaller babyface has to outthink, outquick, outmaneuver their opponent. And that is what happened here. I will openly expect, because I know my prediction was that Chella was going to lose. I did not expect this out of her at all. That's not a slight on her work. I think that she, like I said, I think she's a phenomenal worker. I think she does a great job. And I can absolutely see whoever that is booking this, why they trust her to get in the ring with people who are not as polished. Because I think that she is a good enough worker that she can get something out of them regardless to how well-trained they are. That's probably a nice way to put it. So she being Chella, is in there and she's trying to, score these big wins and get the big move in. She tries to go to the top rope and Dante slows it down just long enough for Chainsaw to get back up to her feet. She does roll through, tries to catch Chainsaw or something. Chainsaw just turns into like a full Nelson. And Dante, who I liked her more when she was kind of the evil manager. I'm still fine with it. I think she still portrays the persona of Dante well. Now the end, I don't know where they were going with that. And by the way, when I say that she portrays the persona of Dante, like when she was holding up the little human face apron, that sounds weird to say for a wrestling show. Just that she would poke at the eyes on the apron or grab the nose and hook the mouth or whatever, just as silent instructions. I enjoyed that. I thought that was a nice, unique take on what she could do as a manager. I wish she would go back to it. But she's still fine, but she felt like a standard wrestling manager here. In that she was, trying to do I got to cheat, whereas before she didn't need to. She was in charge of an unstoppable monster. She didn't have to cheat for her. She cheated on occasion, but it was never something that she had to do. Because Chainsaw was the beast. And she was not the beast. Rephrase that. Chainsaw was the monster. And she was cleaving through everybody. It wasn't a requirement for her to have to cheat. So, in any case, as I just said, I don't know what it was that they were trying to do. It didn't really come off well. As Chainsaw has Chella in the full Nelson, she reverses the spot, pushes Chainsaw through, and it looked like it was supposed to have been a head crack between the two of them. Chainsaw goes through the bottom rope or second to bottom rope, cracks her head against her sister Dante, and then that dazes her enough to get hit with the finish. It didn't seem like they really came close enough, but they came close enough for TV. So we'll put it that way. So they crack heads. Chainsaw staggering. She's coming back, and then she turns around and gets caught with a cutter from. Well, first she gets caught with a kick to the side of the head, or at least what was supposed to be the side of the head. And then she sets her for this, nice cutter. Hits her with it. 1, 2, 3 with a jackknife pin. Chainsaw is down. And we're done. This was a pleasantly, surprisingly good match. Not at all what I expected. Not in the least. But much like I said with the other things, it wasn't about the match. It was about what happened following the match. The match was just a means to an end. So, Chainsaw, being the sore loser that she is, attacks Chantilly Chella at the end. Foxy Fierce rushes out and directly into the arms of a chokeslam. If you didn't know who this person was, you wouldn't have known now because you didn't even get a chance to see her face. All you saw was purple and an afro, and then it went up and went down, and that was it. So after that, Holiday comes out. And she starts brawling with Chainsaw. So whatever issues that they have, I guess, are still going on, or maybe Holiday still feels like she's a protector to Chella and Fierce, because those are the people that came out to her. And this match, or at least the aftermath of this match, followed up on that. The lights go dim, and they'll go out. And then Siren the Voodoo Doll is in the ring. She attacks Holiday with her antlers. I don't know if the antlers is the thing that I would have used, because it seems like a very hard thing to work, especially talking about pointy antlers. I would prefer that she just had some sort of blunt object that she could actually kind of bring it across the head. The antlers seemed a little bit of a genteel touch when she hit her with it, but we'll go with that. So Siren nails Holiday with the antlers. Dante and Siren, once Holiday is down, hold her down by her ankles and wrists so that Chainsaw can come off the ropes and nail her with the big splash. The only add-on that I would say to this to really drive the point home is I'd have told her, I need you to hit her 3 times. At least 3. Because everybody takes a hit. Everybody takes a splash. That's just the end of the match. When she does, like, everybody, does that with you. But if you hit her with multiple splashes, I could justify her being out for a while. Hit her 3 to 4 times. Just boom, 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 boom. And then we can cart her out of there. She could be carried out by her friends, which is what she was. But this is also the point where Siren got to shine. Nina Monet got the chance to shine, doing what I feel she does best. She's a good talker, and she always has been. When I first met her as Nina Monet, she did not have this gimmick, but she was always good to talk. In the tag team that she ran around in, and she was with a veteran when she, was paired off. She was with a vet. But if you wanted to have somebody who was going to provide you a good promo for whatever it is that happened to be going on about, or whatever it is they happen to be doing, you went to Nina, or Siren in this case. You went to her because she could deliver. And she delivered here. She took something that I think that if you had most other people read it, it would be very difficult to pass it off as legitimate or real or whatever the case may be. And we know that it's not, but she was able to put some level of realism in her words. You betrayed your coven. And it was great how she says that she's back. She explains essentially why she's there, because you're out here with these 2 dancing fools. You betrayed your coven. And then she ends it with, but it's not too late. All can be forgiven. All you have to do is just basically, and this isn't verbatim, but basically drop those 2 knuckleheads and come back with us. And I was like, this is fantastic. This is fantastic. And I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but no, I think that she's a phenomenal talker. And I remember her as being as such, and she still is. Even when she went onto their Instagram and she did another one, she reinforced the promo that she did right here. And I think that's the part about the promo that I like the most, is that it was direct, it was a message, not necessarily a threat, and it was open-ended. And you could take that either way. The fact, and I think it needs to be said. There's a lot of people that I look at in a while that I say, they come off to me like they're just playing the part. And then there's people that I say, no, I feel them. They feel legitimate. They feel real. Siren feels real. And some of that is because, as far as I know, for everything that I have seen with her, either in person or otherwise, this is not an act. I'm not saying that she, lives the life the way that it is portrayed on TV as Siren the Voodoo Doll. But I do believe she has some connections towards what you would consider witchcraft or, what a pagan lifestyle, however you choose to phrase it. I'm not trying to make it sound bad or, whatever the case may be. But she, put it this way, she's familiar to it. Whether she believes in it or not, she's familiar enough to it to where she can deliver that. Those antlers, as far as I know, are hers. I've seen her use those things on shows here. So I don't think that's a wild prop, unless they just happen to have another pair of antlers that she gets to use when she goes out to the West Coast. So, I mean, this is all stuff that she has done. She's lived this. Siren the Voodoo Doll is not all that different than Nina Monet, the Voodoo Queen. And I'm sorry for these pauses. I keep, stopping to take a sip of my drink here. But she comes off as completely legitimate, someone who believes in what she's saying, which makes me believe in what she's saying. And it ended, like I said, with such a great open door. All can be forgiven. All you have to do is just come back. I love that. So, yeah, I mean, she and this segment became a bright spot for me. And of course, this is basically an ultimatum. So we'll see where this goes. Hopefully it will go somewhere where good, but again, it's very open-ended to where Holiday could be resistant to it. Holiday could come back and she can join right back up, and what could you say? The door was open. It wasn't be as if it would be inexplainable. It would be perfectly explainable. She just told us that. You've done wrong here by aligning yourself with those two, but all can be forgiven. All you have to do is just abandon those two. That is more or less the message. So I like that. Didn't like the segment that preceded this, the All-American Girls Locker Room, and I certainly didn't like the segment that came after us, which is Ariel Sky. So we're off into the next segment, which is, this is a segment that probably annoyed me more than anything on this show. And if there was a reason for me to change the channel, this would be it. So we've got Ariel Sky, who comes into the locker room of Coach Campanelli, who I guess apparently happens to be there on her own. And she's cleaning a trophy or decorating it. I don't know what she's doing. And again, we know that this is the set designers of WoW. So Ariel Sky comes in with a photo of herself and the coach together as Team Spirit. Ariel Sky wastes no time throwing Team Spirit under the bus. This is like the first thing out of her mouth is, all I wanted you to do is be proud of me, or whatever nonsense that she said. And I know you looked at Team Spirit as been a bit of a B team, but you and we had something special. So like I said, she wasted no time throwing Team Spirit under the bus. Like those two losers, forget them, but you and me, we're good. So she's now back into the position of begging. Why is this? What is happening here? She's trying to get into the good graces of Coach because she wants to be part of top tier. And I anything less than Ariel Sky somehow tricking the entire group at this point makes all of this pointless and ridiculous. But that's what she comes in for. She's begging to join. You heard a clip of it at the beginning of this particular episode. And she offers up a photograph of them together. Basically saying, I will do anything. If you just give me a chance, I want to be part of top tier. Coach basically at that point is saying, all right, well, you want to be part of top tier? I tell you what, you and I will have a match. If you win, you're part of top tier. And of course, she's happy about that. I said, but when you lose, you'll have to be our water girl. And Ariel Sky's like, water girl? Of course, Coach is, well, you said that you do anything. She's like, yes, of course, I do anything. I don't know where this is going. I really don't. I have no idea where this thing is going. Why is this girl in there begging to be forgiven for allowing her face to get in the way of the feet of top tier? Because that's basically what it comes down to. I know y'all was stepping and stomping here. I shouldn't have put my face in the way. This is so absurd. This angle is ridiculous. I don't even know how to begin to address Ariel Sky in this. Why would she be doing this? What happened to, ripping the picture apart? Now she's back here the following week or whatever it is, following 2 weeks, and she's begging to get back together. I mean, it's just sad. What is it that this is supposed to accomplish? She couldn't get revenge, and I have a hard time believing that she would have the forethought to outwit Coach in some capacity. Like, I'll do this and I'll get in good with him and I'll tear him up from the inside out. That seems a bit far-fetched for Ariel Sky. But let's recap what has happened between Campanelli and Sky, that she would be in here begging Campanelli to take her back. So we go to her hiring an additional member of Team Spirit, which was what it was. Her getting benched along with the new members of Team Spirit publicly and on national television. Her being verbally dressed down in front of the live audience and national television. Attacked and hit with the trophy, which for whatever reason, WoW as a company saw fit to replace. I don't know why they did that. Getting attacked by 3 different members. Candy Crush and Gloria Glitter and Campanelli. And they pretty much leave her laying. Why would she, Ariel Sky, or anyone, be willing to crawl back to Coach Campanelli? This is just tail between the legs. It's the wounded puppy who doesn't know what to do, without the master in there to tell him what and how to behave and all that good stuff. This should be a interesting outing. I was going to say good, but I'm hesitant to say that. So anyhow, we got that in there, and this does not make any sort of sense. This makes Sky come off as weak. I wrote down, is this an abuse victim's angle? Because that's what it feels like to me. This feels like somebody who was just, I'm sorry, was this because I made the meatloaf cold? Or, just apologizing to the bully or apologizing to the abuser as much as possible. And doing whatever I can to make my abuser happy. That's how this comes off to me. Maybe I'm wrong. If you feel like I'm wrong, put it in the comments below. I have no problem reading them. But anyhow, we have that. It goes into a recap of last week, Los Bandidos versus Toma and the Island Dynasty. And I have to give another thing of credit here in that they have managed to keep multiple storylines alive with people who are not there, which has always been kind of a hard thing for them to do because they rotate these tapings so much that sometimes you get an angle started and it'll go for weeks before you see that person again. Weeks. And you're expected to try to remain interested and keep up to date with it and know what's going on, even though you might not have seen that person or this angle or, any participants involved in it for up until 4, 5, 6 weeks or longer. So I was happy with this. I was happy in that they actually rotated some people in to the show, regardless of whether they were there or not, to help keep their thing moving. You got some footage of, the breakup of Lopez's group. And that I thought wasn't perfect, but it was good to see because you could not identify. You could watch this and understand, okay, I can see this person did that. This person's, been working on this, rather than them doing something and then you just don't see it ever again until months down the line, and then some element of that story has been lost forever because it wasn't important to begin with and they just never knew how to follow up on it. Whatever happened to that flash drive that, Sophia Lopez gave the Beast anyway, and the favor that she was supposed to get from that never went anywhere. Next segment, All American girls are backstage showing the nervousness of Americana getting ready for the match. Garrett says she'll be backstage if she needs her. I don't know why that would be the thing. It's almost like we did some foreshadowing again. Wild recaps the Dojo Defenders. They debut and their loss. This is the first promo that I've seen that normally goes on IG make it to television. And I'm going to say they chose the wrong promo. I don't want to, be that dude and insult them or whatnot, but I think they chose the wrong promo for this. I really do. It didn't seem like the best promo for the Dojo Defenders to give as related to this show. It started off good, but it just kind of devolved into a pointless backstage promo that didn't sell anything or do anything or say that we're coming after this or we're going to get even with that. No, she just lost and then it just kind of moved on. The promo was what's her name on the show? Tootie Lynn Ramsey is the name that she works with, but it was Tara Strike or something like that. So she starts off talking about that they got in there with Miami Sweet Heat, but then it just kind of rambled for a minute. And then our partner, when they closed it up, she basically brought it home in a more succinct way. But before then, I was like, I don't know where she's going with this promo. It's just talk for the sake of talk. And that's pretty much what it came up with. It was just talk for the sake of talk. But we'll see where the defenders go going in the future. The next segment was a preview for next week's show. They advertised several wrestlers on here opposed to a single match, which I thought was much better. Much, much better. At the beginning of this program, I was saying I don't understand why they would use the Goldie Collins versus the Beast, because it didn't seem like a match that would entice me. Or entice anybody for that matter. Not with a record that Goldie Collins has. I'm sure she's a nice young lady, but let's call a spade here. Her record is crap. So I don't know why that would be anything that would make me or anybody else want to watch it. Here, they just advertised several different people. And I thought that was okay. That's a change. I'm good for the change. I'm good with that. Following that up, we go into the main event. And of course, the story, like I said, the story here was that Abilene Maverick was looking for, theoretically, an easy opponent. And that opponent was going to be Americana. So, I have not done one of these in a while. But I'm thinking, why not do a little watch along here? I think that might be a fun thing to do to go over the match. Because there's a couple of things here that I didn't really enjoy, but it's probably best if I was able to look at it while it was happening so I could point it out. So, if you're watching this, it's probably one of two ways that you're going to do it. If I am feeling generous enough, I would have taken this video and you'll be able to watch it as I'm talking about it so you know what I'm saying. If not, and you're listening to this on a podcast, you can do a watch along by going to Abilene Maverick versus Americana. And we'll get past the ad first, I guess. And then we'll watch the match. And we're going to start at all zeros. Let's make sure that we get this out of the way. It's going to be at the beginning, all double O's or all zeros. And when I give a countdown and I say play, we're going to hit play and then move on from there. All right? So, if you had the time, you pulled this up. Again, Abilene Maverick versus Americana. You can find that on the Wild Superheroes page or channel. And now I'm going to do the count in. And when I say play, hit the play button. And then we will carry on from there. Okay? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. So we're starting off. We got Lauren Hunkel. Is that how you pronounce her name? And they got the big main event sign coming up. The lower thirds have gotten better over the years. They got better since they started that back up. I will say that. Especially since when they started this thing, they was using the Thor Love and Thunder lower thirds. There's Americana coming out to the ring. The one consistent thing that we get with Americana when somebody does not know who she is why is she wearing these colors. Almost nothing about her and her persona or character fits. Like everything that she does is basically, I am the wrestling mom. And then she, has Americana, but she's got like pink and purple and neon green. So, and then of course there we go. Got to get a shot of Levi because they cannot help themselves. Wow, stop doing that. I really wish they would just turn that off. So we go back to the announcements. Got Lauren. She's calling out for the champion. Also, I would advise her not to be holding the microphone out for people when she's like, it's for one fall. And hold it like, look, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it. No, you ain't got to try to key them off to saying one fall. So we got Abilene Maverick. She's walking around ringside here. She looks good as the champion. And I think it should be noted that she is a former world champion already. Now, they probably will not mention that she's a former NWA champion because Abilene Maverick was an NWA champion. Barbie Hayden was. So they would have to acknowledge that, she had a different persona outside of WOW, which I doubt that they'll do. Again, this is a interesting concept of a match, and the match to me begins to have its moments where it falls apart. We will get to that as we go through this watch along. You see her kissing the gold wild belt, and Americana standing over there. The crowd seems pretty mild about this. You got some people back there that's holding the thunderclappers up, and they seem pretty much like they're sitting on their hands right now. So we got referee Scheinberg, who's got the belt and who has not done me any favors by being a referee. But I will save all of that from till we get to the end of this. So then we got Hayden getting ready. Hayden. Calling her by her indie name. Abilene Maverick getting ready. Americana's over there. He just had the bell ring, and now she's in her fighting stance. And here we go. There's a lockup. And you can see here now what I would expect out of this match is for Abilene to be the absolute captain and the lead here. What I also would have wanted is Abilene to be in complete control except for the few screw-ups that she might get to give Americana an opening to do the old underdog thing. And she's doing a little bit of that there. She's not taking it seriously, popping the shoulder, talking to the crowd. Like I said, Abilene's been doing this for a while. She knows what to do. I don't know if this is the best version of that for her. Now, what was that for? You just saw Americana do a flip, stand up, and then kind of praise herself. That's a heel thing to do. Why is she doing that? She should have turned right back around trying to get an advantage, but instead she flipped out and she was pleased with herself. And here we go. She does set of cartwheels, flips across the ring to get a move in. Low cross body, goes for the cover. Kick out by Maverick. It's those little things I don't think that work out well for her. Nice back suplex by Abilene. Because I don't think Americana should have been doing backflips across the ring in this underdog environment, especially not at this point in the match. Try to turn it around first. Or a little bit more fighting from underneath. Abilene is telling the referee, I got it under control. He's still doing the count. Some people back there trying to do some thunderclapping, maybe to get her motivated. There's a 2 count. One thing that you can always say that Abilene Maverick is good about is she is deep into her persona. And I am so glad that they changed her name from the governor's daughter to the VIP. The VIP fits her far better than this. And she doesn't need to be, portraying this I'm from Texas thing. I don't know who came up with it. I would assume that she probably has some input in that. And if she did, then bravo for her. Bravo. That angle right there did not do that shot any favors. It was supposed to be raking across the eyes. You could clearly tell by the camera angle the eyes went nowhere near the ropes. And there's that cartoonish overselling that she likes to do. I mean, you can't make somebody sell differently, I guess, but I would really tell her, you might want to tone that down just a little bit. You don't have to look like you belong on a Saturday morning somewhere. And she's trying, reaching out. There is a little bit of art to that selling to where people get behind you and want to save you and whatnot. And I don't think that she has mastered that yet. part of that comes from, something that she said on Instagram. She's like, I'm so thankful to get this title shot just under 2 years of wrestling. Okay, let me just sidebar here. I don't understand what this is here for. Why she can't do anything because she's grabbing her hair doesn't make any sort of sense to me. But I guess it is what it is. But anyway, Americana put that on Instagram like she's thankful, and I'm sure she is thankful for that. But I also will go by the rule of thumb that some of the wrestler trainers that I've met have gone by. She says she's wrestled for just under 2 years, but how many times has she wrestled within those 2 years? I would bet that it's somewhere about 20. 20 matches, probably. So if she's wrestled 20 matches in 2 years' time, it, very likely does not equate to 2 years. It's more like 2 or 3 months worth of actual in-ring wrestling. And I just talked over the spot that I wanted to get there. When she put Abilene down, she goes to the opposite side of the ropes, climbs up there backwards, doesn't look, and then Abilene has to jump up and come over there so she can get hit in the head with the double axe handle. Things like that is like, okay, that shouldn't be happening. So you got Maverick down. Americana tries to go up to the top rope. She gets her foot yanked out from underneath her by Jesse Jones. Now we're seeing Americana try to get in the ring. Jesse Jones is holding her back. And for whatever stupid reason, the referee is not even bothering to look. He is counting with his back completely turned, not looking at her at all. So Abilene Maverick is like, yeah, hurry up and count. Hurry up. This match falls flat for me. The end of this is absurd. Why would the referee make this count and not at any point turn around and look at who he's counting at? He just stood there and looked at the hard camera and started counting. Santana Garrett, the great friend that she is, didn't even bother to come out until the match was over with. And so when she told her up front, hey, I'll be here for you, where was her help? She didn't do it. And we've established that Santana Garrett is in the building. And then the Beast just came out. We just saw that. And then she charges and hits her with a spear. And the spear this time keeps her down for the count. When they had the match, then she speared her like twice. And then, well, no, not during the match. Sorry. When Abilene Maverick was faking this injury and she was out on crutches, she got speared like 2 times. Rolled out to the floor and then still had enough strength to play tug of war with David McLean and yank the belt out of his hand and walk out laughing. Now the spear is an indestructible rocket and she can't get up. This is, it's those moments. It's those moments and those little things that bother me with this. The climbing up the ropes, not looking backwards, not seeing where she is, just knowing that this person is supposed to be there when I jump off, and which is basically what happened. She had to hop up and get over to her so that she could take the double axe handle in the head. I mean, it's those things. Like, there's almost no justified reason for Americana to have done what she did. I mean, just go back and look at that little segment of the match. Knocks her down. She's on the opposite side of the ring. She hops up to do a springboard backwards double axe handle. And, like I said, Abilene Maverick has to get herself a position in order to take that. That was the first thing. And like I said, and then it's flat. Abilene, yes, she is going to take the win however she can take it. This is one of those points where, like, I don't know if Americana has the skill set to go 10, 15, 20 minutes. But a good underdog story, in my view, probably requires a little bit more than what they had in order to get the story across. Bell to bell, at least. Abilene should have been beating up on her. She should have had this thing in full control. It should have been practically a squash match. I picked you because I can beat you. And I can overwhelm you. I can out-wrestle you. Until Americana finds an opening, and then she gets it, and then Abilene is frustrated, and she can't get air opportunity to regain the advantage. Then you have those moments. And this finish probably would work just as well if they had established certain rules ahead of time so that those things would make sense. If it were a case of the referee cannot disqualify this person unless they are in the, let's say, periphery of the ring, or if the wrestler instigates the problem. Well, you have, Jesse Jones standing out there calling her everything under the sun, it's except for a child of God or whatever, enough to distract Americana and make her go out there and confront her. Where at that point, Jesse Jones can take the beating. I could sacrifice my body. I could sacrifice myself just to stop you from going because I hate you that much. Latch herself around the waist. Americana's trying to fight to get free so she can break the 10 count. The referee can see all this. But as long as Jesse Jones isn't physically being offensive and attacking her, and not within the ringside area. And that's why I say you have to establish these rules. You have to establish this stuff up front. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. Just come out of the blue. But you establish the rules for the referee where he can see that, but he's powerless to stop it. He's counting, and he's slowing up the count because he knows that she's trying to get back in the ring, and Jesse Jones is stopping him. But I can't really do anything about it because she's not in the parameters of where I can say this is a disqualification. Abilene Maverick was standing there on the side of him while he's watching. Count faster. Don't be slowing up because you feel something for a count. Do your job. But instead, you got him doing what he does, and they keep making him look like an idiot because he's got to turn around and he's got to look at the hard camera, and we know that's all that's for. He's got to turn around, he's got to look at the hard camera, he's got to make the count, and he's got to do this count blind because he can look side to side like he was doing, but he's not going to look at Americana, the person that is counting out. Come on. It's those things. So, and again, like there's portions of this episode that are perfectly fine, and then I get the things like this, like, really, you couldn't do anything better than that. You couldn't just have Americana Santana Garrett try to go out there and get cut off or something. It only bothers me because she said, I'll be here for you. And she wasn't. I don't need you after the match is over with. I need you during the match when I needed the help. But she comes out, the bell's rung, you already got counted out. Then she comes strolling out. And it wasn't even a sense of urgency at that point. Just comes strolling out. So, yeah, it's those things that take it away from me. Started off fine, pretty much went well, but then that happened. And then it makes me consider and wonder, well, what's going to happen next week? Or this next episode, I should say. And just reading the preview does not help me want to see this anymore. So, if you're not wanting to know what the preview clip is, now's your time to skip ahead or whatever. You have been warned. You still here? All right. This is what I was sent as the previews of the next episode, season 2, episode 32. It will be episode 232 for me. The title will be Friend to Foe. And let me make sure I can read this correctly. Miami's Sweet Heat. Laurie and Lindsay demand a title shot and call out the Mother Truckers to defend their gold in the main event. Ariel Sky fights for a way back into Coach Campanelli's good graces. I hate that already. But will Ariel's status as a wrestler be revoked? Samantha Smart isn't done with G.I. Jane as she sends the class master to face the drill sergeant. Once her teammate, but now her foe. I thought we did that already. Not interested. The drama continues as Adriana Gambino makes it clear that she's the boss and her muscle, Reina Del Rey, is far from done with Princess Aussie. Don't know why that's continuing to go on. I thought the whole point was for her to go for a title shot, and I realize I'm interrupting into this reading, but just bear with me. Will Princess Aussie be able to count on her friend Candy Crush for backup in the ring? Why would she count on Candy Crush? She just went heel. She's part of top tier. Why are we even in this angle? Didn't we cut that off a couple of weeks ago, like over a month back? Why is this happening? Sasha Sparks aims to show she can stand on her own in the ring against BK Rhythm. Fed up with her disruptive actions in the ring last week, David McClain sets a tag team match for Jesse Jones next week. But who will Jesse's partner be? Well, if it ain't Amber O'Neal, I would assume it would be Abilene Maverick, particularly given the promo that Abilene Maverick cut on Instagram following this. And again, I don't even care for the quote press conference promos that they do on Instagram following this, because no one ever sees it for their TV shows, or very few people see it, and the things that would make sense they don't particularly care about. So there we go. There's really not much else that can be said as it relates to that. It's just wow. And that's a sad thing to say, that is the excuse for it. It's just wow. And WoW has these things. WoW has these continuity errors, and WoW has these little moments like this that really just defy, wrestling logic at times. I mean, this defies a lot of wrestling logic as far as I'm concerned, but with time will tell. Like I said, as far as Ariel Sky is concerned, I hope that they do something that changes my mind. I hope they do. I don't think they will, but I hope they do. And this whole thing with Americana, this main event was a bust. At least in my view, it was. I hope that she is able to do something else in the future. I hope that she's able to show that she can wrestle. I hope that she can show that she has the mind for working a match. But as of right now, Americana still needs work. And Maverick is not enough to carry that. I think that would be mostly everything. So we have gone through a major portion of what was been happening on WoW and all this good stuff. I am interested to see what will happen in this next episode, just based on the previews that I have read right there. I am interested to see what will happen the next time up. But I am not going to be shocked by anything that I find personally disappointing. I will leave it on that. And as such, I will also close out this episode. As I said at the beginning, thank you for everyone that has tuned in and done anything or downloaded or whatever the case may be with this show. I do appreciate it. I will continue to do these as much as I can, as often as I can. As long as they're producing shows, I will very likely be producing shows along with it. So I do appreciate everything and everyone that you have, helped me out quite a bit. And I don't think there's any other major things that I have to get across other than I'm still enjoying TNA wrestling, even though they've lost Mr. D'Amore. I'm still enjoying TNA wrestling. And I am really hoping, fingers crossed, that the next, how can I phrase it? I hope that the next episode is surprising for me, regardless of what I just read. That's probably the best way. Regardless of what I just read and how it disappointed me just by some of the readings. I really do. I hope that next episode is going to be shocking for me. I hope that is, oh wow, this is really good, rather than here's another episode of wow. I hope that it can take me out of that mindset. But I will be tuning in to see. We will find out. And on that note, folks, I want to thank you for tuning in, as always, to this podcast and this show. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me. It's Jay-Z line. You might have gotten it from somebody else, but that's where I know it from. It's Jay-Z line. So in any case, that is the full-on review of this episode. Not terrible, but it wasn't a grand episode either. Like the main event and the Ariel Sky segment dragged this down immensely for me, just out of his sheer ridiculousness and stupidity. Those things make it feel or seem bad, in my view. That's just how I perceive that. So, in any case, as I was saying, that is the entirety of the review for this episode of WOW. Thank you for tuning in and listening to me carry on about it. I do appreciate it. If there are any other questions or comments, please feel free to leave them in the comment section below. We'll be looking to come up with some other trivia questions and polls to put on here and Instagram. Remember, you can always track those things down by going to WPNWrestling.com. It is everything that I do, the nexus for all things the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, whether that be video, whether that be written interviews, whether that be audio interviews such as this, or audio shows such as this. So there's a little bit for everybody. Well, at least that's what we all like to say, right? So it is time to wrap this up. Folks, thank you for your time tuning in. And in closing, and as always, I want to say that this is Mr. Green saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. Take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.